One lad never even known what locations was. He didn't apply for locations because he didn't know what it was.
You'd need a team with specific people with specific skills.
The first money could be from any creative thinker.
I'm looking forward to getting back in the room with people.
In the room, 52 Jokers Wild.
Hi everybody and welcome to In the Room. This week we are revisiting some of our interviews with Karl King, Johnathan Brownlee, Donna Phillips and Siraj, Zaidi, who all talk about their experiences in the film industry over the last few years. Welcome to the show, Karl. We're fascinated because you've managed to come over in the last couple of years and establish yourself in the film industry and start to make your own little waves as part of the film industry.
Yeah.
We've been talking to a number of producers about how they get on and start to produce films and things. What's your experience so far of what's happening in Ireland?
Ireland is it's a place full of amazing locations and amazing places. We just spent the last 5 weeks running around just Kerry on its own and found the most amazing places on this film that I've been working on called Joyride. But Ireland as an entity in the film world, we're under-studioed, understaffed. Trying to get crew over here is an impossibility. Trying to get studios to film over here is an impossibility. But we've got all the resources, and it's going to take a bit of time to get the crew up. But it's the writing's on the wall. The writing is so on the wall about Ireland being the go-to destination for the Americans that don't want to shoot in the UK. And generally, and any film that doesn't want to shoot in the UK, due to similar tax breaks, if not better tax breaks, especially down here in the regions as well. So it's an amazing. It's a pot that's ready to be mixed, but it's not fully mixed there. We've got all the ingredients, but we don't have the stew at the moment. In the sense of here with crew, is that there's not enough crew members. That there's film schools, if you will, that are producing directors, producers, and everything else, but there's no below the line crew. Trying to find people that we're working at the moment. We're in Kerry College, and which is where I am at the moment. We've just wrapped, and we had a load of interns on us. Every single one of them wants to be in camera or assistant directors. Not a single person applied to be on as an intern for the locations department or the props department. So it's a department which no one really knows anything about, which means that unless you find yourself in, and what happened for us, I ended up working with a guy called Will, had to bring them down from Dublin. I had to bring another one down from Galway, called Christy. And then I had 2 trainees that are part of the trainee scheme. One that we stole from production, and one that actually wanted to work in it, but had only worked in Canada. So, if you take that, not a single one of us has ever worked in Kerry. I came on board on this, or in the Southwest. I came onto this job as well as an Englishman that's never filmed in Ireland, full stop, never filmed in Kerry. I just happened to live here, married a Kerry girl. So, so that was it. So we had an English guy that hadn't filmed in Ireland, full stop, an Australian that hadn't filmed in Kerry, a Galway lad that hadn't filmed down here either, and 2 trainees that one had filmed in Canada and one that had never been on a film set in their life. And that was our team. We smashed it. The hilarity is that we've ended up with English Oscar-winning Olivia Colman as our lead star, a kid that was from Kildare. There's if you think about it, even the main cast, there's nothing that's down here. There's no film school for location managers. There's nothing like that. People don't know. They really don't know as to what's available and what's really out there. Like the guys that we ended up with on this, one lad had never even known what locations was. He didn't apply for locations because he didn't know what it was. He just found himself in this department and now wants to work in it, for the rest of his life. It's also that he realized that you get well paid to doing a fun job. You're out every day doing different things. I'm not deny I'm incredibly well paid for what I do. And I'm very lucky for that. But, there's not many 34-year-olds earning what I earn, making films and doing what I'm doing. But the thing is that no one really knows about it. We're looking at doing other training courses and things. to try and get more people interested. But when you go to college, I went to a media college a very long time ago, and all we learned is camera, editing, and directing. And that was it, really. There was nothing about what an assistant director does, what a props a storeman does, and these are all high paid jobs. You know, what a spark in the job, what, you know, you might get a gaffer occasionally, but what just a normal spark does, what a Jenny op does, you know, they're not really there. You're not really taught them. And they're huge parts of the industry. You know, what a dressing props guy does. No one really knows until you do it. And they're all really well paid jobs. And that's what we're missing in the industry, is those middle ground people. See, I came into this industry I'm not a creative in that sense. I've dabbled in making bits and short films and things back in the day when I was young and stupid. But I was never the one, you know, this is a job. I'm not a film fan. I couldn't care less. I've seen the first 3 Star Wars and not the rest. I worked in the industry. It was great because I was earning money. I couldn't care less. I'm a theatre kid at heart. That's where my real passion is. Motorsport and F1 and theatre. And that's where I'd spend all my money, you know. I'm making theatre and watching motorsport. But I see this as very much a job. It is a job. I get paid to come into work. I get paid to deal with the crap. But that's why a lot of locations aren't mad theatre buffs, especially in our department, because we're the department that deals with the real life world and the creative world. And we're the only department that ever deals with real life. Everyone else deals with their own little creative industries. This production, if we're talking money, this production was a £4 million production. It's not a huge amount of money in the film world. But a lot of that money, I mean, we did the math of it. You know, think of half the crew. If over half the crew was in hotels, we ate out every night. We supplied loads of food. You know, that's not even the tourism. That's just our crew. You know, eating out. We were lucky with COVID, in the sense of hotels were slightly emptier when we started this, so we managed to get good deals. The film office down here are absolutely phenomenal. I managed to get us great deals and bits and pieces with it. But like the money that we put in, you know, into locations, into local economy. I mean, my budget was a couple of $100,000. That, you know, locations budget went in. You know, 70% of that went into local investment, local produce, and local location. Everyone was paid the hours they worked. That was as per the contracts. This is a proper production company. They're well known, so everything was above board. And that creates its own problems. Bearing in mind that yes, we're all getting paid our overtime, great, but that means that creativity is lacking. We can't have that crane in today because we're having to pay for extra security. It really is, you know, that's how it works. We were really lucky with Ema, our director on this job, because she was phenomenal, and she wouldn't compromise in a sense, but she would change her ideas, if that makes more sense. Like if there was bits that didn't work or we just couldn't make it work for something, she'd go, okay, let's try this way. I don't think she lost anything. She was very strong on this job, that Kerry gets seen as, because the film is based in Kerry. It's very much about Kerry, and she didn't want to just do a low load of shots of looking straight on. It's not just about the cast in this one. The Kerry is the 4th main character. There's 2 sides to the film industry. There's the creative, winning awards, getting the directors, writers, producers, getting the awards, and then there's the business side. Screen Island is very much on the creative, arty-farty side. They did invest in this show. I know they did. They're one of the supporters of the film. So, you know, which is the arty-farty creative thing, and they're trying to push the regions. And, you know, it was great to work on the regions out here. I mean, what they gained, they probably lost. What they lost and they gained in working out here because of having to bring crew down. So all that extra tax break money that they had ended up in hotels and everything else. But the film was created for Kerry, and the director was very strong about that. And we were lucky to have such a director and a writer. A writer was a Tralee native, and the director was really strong about coming down to Kerry and making this in Kerry, as opposed to running around the Wicklow Mountains, which every production's done for the last 5-10 years. Anyone that wants to make a film, go and be an extra. Go and be on set. Just find a way, be a runner, find a way. There's lots of jobs, there's lots of places to go and find them. Go, like, even if it's working on someone else's film, you start making your way up, and that's the important thing. But get paid for it. That's the other thing. Think of it as a job. Until you get to the creative heights, think of it as a job. If you're not getting paid for it, it's not worth doing. Believe me. Been there, done that.
And in the room this week, we have Johnathan Brownlee, who is an award-winning writer, director, producer. You were talking a short time ago about the fact that your accent sometimes comes from a certain part of Canada, which kind of connects us all here.
No, it's true. We were just saying that, you're having a pint next to the guy on you. And when I go out to the Maritimes in Canada, I mean, my stepfather's family is from Prince Edward Island, which is near Newfoundland and Labrador. And I get out there and it's like, right, boy, how's it going? Fill your boots and stuff, right? And then I'm like, what happened here? Oh, it's a couple of beers in, but it's a big Irish influence in that part of the world, in the Maritimes. And I mean, Ireland has made incredible strides in the film industry in the last 20 years, not the least of which is the tax incentives.
And what the Irish industry wants to do is it's creating talent, and it wants to attract talent, and it wants to attract the stories to Ireland, but we also feel a big, massive pain in it, because 2 years ago, when we sort of entered where we're going, we noticed the exit of the investor from indie production, because things are getting harder all the time.
I call that kind of no man's land, right? Because you've got the really big players who are, in the $100 million range, and they're coming in and they're like, not just renting one soundstage for 3 months anymore, they're renting the entire facility for 10 years. It also gets their stuff done, but it also pushes everyone else out of the market. But then you've got these, middle budgets, 5 million to 25 million. It's a very difficult space to play in. Stuff under 3 million, under $1 million, the really small or micro indies is still getting made around the planet. And that's kind of how people are being creative to get their stories told. But the stuff in the middle market is really difficult. It's tough. I have to write for a living, but I'm never good at just like, hey, from 9 to 10, I'm writing. It never works that way for me, right? It's like, there'll be weeks I'm like, shit, I got nothing, right? Like there's nothing going on the back of the it was gonna I got nothing. And then all of a sudden, bam, it's like a rocket ship. And then, I'll be like in 2 weeks, I'll have, put together a draft, or there's just some, it comes in spurts and dribbles for me, but you've got to let yourself also know how you work, right? Like a lot of people, they're good doing, an hour a day, or they're very disciplined. Like, that's just not me, right? And even if I'm not making a film or writing a film or, posting a film or developing a film or, whatever, I love to build. So I'm building a shed, or like we redid our entire backyard. We built a swimming pool, and I designed the swimming pool, and I did it the way I wanted to do it. I had my own home renovation television series years ago. So I always bought houses and flipped houses, and then I made a TV show out of it. But it was back in a time when I was commuting between Los Angeles and Vancouver, Canada. And I was up in Vancouver, and they had just created this thing called HD, high definition. It was coming, but nobody could afford to shoot on it, right? Because it was like a $500,000 camera, and you had to have prime lenses. And so we did this deal with Sony, and they gave us all the gear. So we were the first TV show in Canada to actually shoot in high definition. Now you can shoot 4K on your phone, but it was back in the day. So, we had probably the best looking home renovation show on the planet. And then that's actually how I ended up in Ireland and places like that, is once we had that successful show and we were shooting in HD, places like the Golf Channel and other places like, hey, why don't you make a golf channel in high definition? We'd love that. So, sometimes it's just like, your business brain and your creative brain. And I'm like, I love doing houses. And so it all, some of that stuff all comes together. And that also gets you out of your regular track too, right? I'm not making a film, I'm building a shed, or I'm making a pool, or whatever it is. And that, I think you keep the wheels turning on other things, then that does kind of reinvigorates, re-energizes you when you come back to sort of your vocation, right? My COVID-19 is right around my waist right now. I have a 23-year-old son, and we have a 7-year-old daughter. We've all been living in the same house, for over a year. And, my daughter thinks it's, summer camp. So it's been great. She's had her parents around the whole time, because I usually had to travel a bunch, go shooting all over the world and whatever else you're doing. Or, my wife calls it, she becomes a film widow, when I'm making a film, because I'm just not only, even if I'm here, I'm not, my brain is always, off making the film, or you're in, 16-hour days. So it was really interesting, especially I think the first 3 or 4 months we just didn't do anything, right? It was like the first time in my life that I hadn't just really, which is why I started building sheds. I'm like, I got to do something, but it was really nice just to kind of not do a lot and not fill your brain with unnecessary things and just be kind of present. And I think that was a huge, interesting reset. And at the same time, when I was doing that, just people were throwing projects at me. It was one of the most prolific writing years of my life. Even though I said, look, guys, I'm not going to go out and shoot this film. They're like, no, just write it for us. You can direct it in a couple of years. So sometimes when you just kind of pause and say no, it's interesting what happens. Then you can really pick and choose and cherry pick what you want to do, that then fits into that sort of new direction of how you're living your life. I think that's been a really interesting part of this for me anyway. It's interesting, we're on this platform Zoom, right? And this was kind of a new thing, that this is kind of our forced point of communication in a lot of ways for part, especially the beginning of the pandemic. But I think one of the things, we as human beings tend to find the good out of the bad. And so I think a lot of people started reconnecting with people, old college chums or family they hadn't seen, in a group, which this great piece of technology gave everyone a chance to sort of be in a room, in the room together. And it's kind of these, as you start to think about these things and moving forward, we have this tool, but it will be interesting. I'm looking forward to getting back in the room with people, having a pint. And as wonderful as the technology piece is, there's really nothing that's better than actually connecting with people in the same room, sharing ideas, over a pint, and people from different and diverse backgrounds. So I hope that as we come out of, this pandemic, that more people will take the time, to your point of, hey, I'm not going to work today. I haven't seen my buddy in, a year. Let's just go spend the day together, right? Like go spend some time with the people that you really want to reconnect with. And so that's what I say. I'd hope people watching the podcast really just take the opportunity to do that.
Our next guest is Donna Phillips, who set up the International Film Producers Network to guide people into the industry.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much going on. First of all, there's always room at the top for more people. and luckily, I'm Welsh, but I'm also English and Irish. So, I can invite in many different cultures, and probably where my networking skills come from as well. But yes, dipping my toes in and out of many different industries. I work for a place in the sun. I run the International Film Producers Network group. Yeah, there's always something going on, really. I'm always busy, which is good. From the beginning, it's why the group was set up. My father was a brilliant artist, but he found it hard to do the promotional side or the marketing. So, I started doing that for him. I worked with friends, on a couple of short films, and it was always about people finding the right people and nobody knowing where to start. Obviously, we spoke about it last week. One of the main things that everybody's after is investment, not knowing where to start or where to go. I mean, it's good that, what I have noticed, obviously, over, especially the sort of past like 5 years or so, I would say, is that there's a lot more opportunities, a lot more courses, a lot more, people giving, online sort of tutorials, being able, obviously lockdown stopped it, but physically being able to go and join in with a group, whether it be acting or, photography, video skills and things like that. So over time, the younger people are the ones who've got the most confidence or the most opportunities, I would say. So maybe that puts some of the older people off of whether, they would sort of go down these routes. And because there are so many options, it's knowing who are the best ones, because people don't want to waste their time and they want to bring their projects, which mean the world to them, to fruition. So it's about finding the right network of people, not just anybody that's, in the group or offering these packages, I suppose. You need a good team, really. It's like, I believe in, if you work on a film project or, anything, really. You can put it to any sort of industry or project, but you need a team with specific people with specific skills. Some of you can multitask on some things, but you do need, an understanding, whether it's sort of the business side, the creative side, run into a plan. Somebody, who's quite disciplined in timing. It takes a good bunch of people to be able to make the project work. The main one is that they're all looking for work. A few of them will ask sort of questions, but a lot of the time the answer is within themselves. It could be something simple, whereas you would just say to them, pick out 100 companies and send your email. For some reasons, not everybody thinks of these things, offhand. So, with the group, there's lots of different content in there nowadays, and it's grown obviously since lockdown. During lockdown, there was people posting just every single day because they were at home, they couldn't work. So it's sort of like, like most industries and, graphics or whatever for companies, it peaked at a certain point. And then obviously as, lockdowns started sort of calming down a bit and people are back out and about and could film again, then obviously it sort of quietened down. Unfortunately, I had to throw myself back into full-time work as well. So, it is self-running, like I say, but it would be nice to be able to pinpoint and offer opportunities for people in there as much as I could. I'm a big believer in change and just taking chances, I think. I've always thrown myself into opportunities. It's taken me to some amazing places. I've met amazing people. I've been lucky enough to work for amazing companies and on projects, and that's throughout my life, really. And I know it's not as easy for everybody, to take chances, because they do worry about, being able to pay bills and things like that. But if I can sort of like just give some of that away that'll help other people, just to kind of like give them that little bit of confidence, that would be the aim of the game for me, really. I think it's being able to share my passion to help others. The fear of being rejected or not being good enough, where you've got imposter sort of syndrome. You're like, how did I get here? How did I do this? Because everybody has it now and again, but just keep working a little bit on something every day, I think. There's plenty of meditations on YouTube. Synctuition was a really good one for me, which I used during lockdown. I've been listening to meditations for years, but I think sometimes my ideas were getting drowned out because I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Sometimes, around nice people, but just people who didn't really understand me or what I was trying to achieve, really. It's about balance, really. Taking that time to actually figure out who you are, what your skill set is, and making that plan where you can actually, spend that quality time, even if it's just for, an hour every 2 or 3 days to start with, just start somewhere. It takes nothing to do a 10-minute meditation in the morning when you wake up, not that that's really anything to do with the film, but that's what I found has helped me. It's just taking that time out to refocus. So you might, because I'm somebody whose mind's all over the place, so I'm always thinking about different things. So it's just being able to hone in on which ones you should start with. And reaching out to people, It doesn't matter how many no's you get, like the sales technique, 100 no's, you might get, one yes at the end of that, and that might be the one. So, it's about putting yourself out there, really.
And our special guest is Siraj Zaidi, who runs the Indian Film Festival of Ireland, which is really quite exciting. But I know he's also been involved with a number of film productions that he's setting up himself, and he's also acted in quite a few sort of films. We're very much focused on the idea that this is a job. We're jobbing people. We want to work in the industry and earn a living and earn a good wage for what we're doing and building up the connections. Part of the discussion is to get your views on the experience that you've had in the film industry in Ireland, and also connect us to India as well.
Thank you very much for having me. And it was always good to connect with you. Just to let you know, I've just been off from a mega budget picture called Disenchanted, which was a Disney production shot in Dublin. So I was acting in it. So with Patrick Dempsey, I've got a little part, not a huge part, but significant enough to call myself in the movie. It was the first Hollywood film that I've done. And I was treated like a king. I mean, I had my own trailer. I had my own, usually they spoiled me like anything. It was I think it's a $10 million or $20 million film. I don't know, 18 million. Somebody said $18 million. Just to go back into my madness of my work world. Yes, annual production of the film festival that is happening in Dublin for the last 12 years. Last year, I had a virtual one, and this year again, I'm having a virtual one. So the website is there, www.indianfilmfestivalofireland.ie. And in the past, we have invited huge amount of people all the way from the Indian film industry, directors, stars, writers, all sorts of people, and it's a 4-day long weekend kind of festival, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. It closes on Monday. So it had been a success story, let's put it this way. It sustained me for a while, although it's non-commercial. It's not making a mega bucks, but it's there as a film festival because I started as a frustrated person because Dublin Film Festival will not take any Indian films and categorize them that, look, I had a kind of discourse with the director who was American-driven, Hollywood-driven, and inviting all the American stars. And I said, look, you're calling it an Dublin International Film Festival, but you're not including, the significant industry. And I'm not talking about Bollywood here. My films that I'm interested are meaningful cinema, parallel cinema, new wave cinema that has been winning hearts in Berlin and Toronto and everywhere else in the world. Those are the films with gravity, stories that have meaningful cinema. That is what my films are all about. That the film that I would like to screen here. And I would like, so by token, she took 1 or 2 films, but then again, it wasn't a big enough presence for me to make a sense. So I said, to hell with it, I'm going to make my own film festival. And that's how it started. You'll see on the website, I said all along in the last 12 years, the purpose of the festival is twofold. One, to promote Ireland as a location for our producers and directors to come over to shoot films. And we managed to get 2 films in the past 12 years, big budget pictures who came over here. And then secondly, to make our own films, my stories that I'm trying to make with the local talent, with the local crew, and mix and match with the directors, staffs, the creative crew back in India, and do it as a kind of like hybrid bridge films. That has been very successful in the UK. Baji on the Beach, My Beautiful Laundrette. I mean, I'm in the business, so I know inside out how this financial jigsaw get together. But the other producers, when I talk to the old friends, guys up in Ardmore, James Flynn, Morgan O'Sullivan, all of them, they know me, my work. They are driven by the American productions. They bring what I call it, a cooked cake from America, wash it through the Section 481 machine, and come out with the 15% or 20% in their pocket, and rest goes into the production. So it's a recycling thing, because we have a sitting 15 million mega budget kind of ceiling is sitting there. But the condition is that it has to be pre-sold. It has to have distribution attached. In other words, the investors want to only go in as a last in, first out. Last in, first out is a difficult thing for a new producer. The soft money is the film screen, Irish screen money, which is about 10% to 12%. And then you have EAI money BAI money could be up to about 600,000, 800,000, about $1 million. And then you top up with the Section 481 money, which is about net 32% now, I've been told. So you're just trying to get 32, 12%, and then you come up with all up to about 70, 80%. And then you go to the financial institution and say, look, guys, can you cash flow it? I have 80% guaranteed here. So there is a way of skinning the cat. I mean, a lot of people are doing many different ways. Yeah. So look at the income aspect of that. If you don't have a pre-sale, at least if you are banking on the cinema aspect of the project, then you have a 32 county basis. So you got to identify where the sources of income is. Once you made a movie, you spend a couple of million, say for instance, as a modest budget, 2.5 million quid, you spend it on the production, you pay the stars, you pay the crew and everything. Now, what is the first payment will come from where? And before you start shooting, actually the security from the state broadcaster will give you a guarantee that 2 years down the line or a year down the line, I will broadcast it. And there's a 3-picture deal or 4-picture deal, RTE, Virgin Media, whatever. So the first check will come from the local broadcaster. Then before that, I'm dealing with the cinemas now because of the film festival. I'm dealing with the Dundrum Cinema, the owner of the Dundrum Cinema, Graham Sperling, and the likes of Omniplex guys all over the place. I have dealt with the box office language. If you see the calculation from the box office is another check that you're going to get into your account. When the movie is in the cinema, Hunters comes in, you hype up 100,000 on marketing and PR exercise. You bought the billboard and everything, and then attracted the punters into the cinema. For the producers are allowed to keep their home territory, as they call it. The home territory is Ireland and the UK. Both we consider it as a home territory. Now, in the Brexit terms, I don't know how it would pan out because I'm talking about pre-Brexit language now, that home territory used to be UK and Ireland. That is a producer's territory before you go to Europe, before you go to North America, before you go to Australia and Asia, Middle East. If you open the film in Dubai Film Festival and a buyer comes in, you invite the buyer from Mumbai, fly them in, put them in a hotel and say, look, guys, there's my movie in Dubai Film Festival. And the deals are done there. So that's another Asian market. So you divide the globe in that section. So what you do is you, in the budget, you do the way Hollywood does that. You have, say, for instance, 1.8 million, the actual production cost. And you budget it 2.5. So you're actually budgeting it for that. Marketing, sales, or there's no guarantee. So for that, you get your likes of the OTT platform, the Amazon, the Netflix are the new language. They are buying it. They knew. I'm watching every night a single film coming out from my industry. And then every night they're uploaded 4 or 5 films. So they have a streamline now. They are financing it before or during the production. So while you're in the production, you send the rushes, you send the raw stuff, and say, look, guys, this is in the making. It'll be ready. The answer print will be ready by X number date. What is signing signing on the dotted line, and give us some sort of a guarantee that you're buying it for X amount. I suppose what is happening now in the post-pandemic 2 years, cinemas are shut down, and there were no films. Nobody was going in to buy the film to buy the ticket. So obviously, cinema has hit it badly, big time. So now everything is online. I'm not paying rent to the cinema to hire the cinema to show my films. What I'm saying is the cinemas used to hire to get the money from the producers to show the films. They said, okay, pay me the rent of the 5 shows or 10 shows, whatever you want. It's a 14-show deal. Will pay me the minimum guarantee, MGs, of that thing. And if over and above, the punters will pay, will split it 70-30, 60-40 or whatever. But I want my wages for the staff, for the front staff, the electricity, the projectionist, all of that. It's your film, you covered that. So all of that need to be taken into an account when you're releasing in the cinema. So life is a little bit better in the sense that you're releasing on the home computers, on high phone, on the home technology. People are watching short films now being made more because 20 minutes, half an hour film is easy to watch, consumable, than to film is a 2-hour film. But people who are in the movie and they really want to watch a good film, they will sit on the computer. They will sit at home computer, home studios. People have made home cinemas with larger screen and all that, and so therefore they're watching on digitally, and so therefore, who is projecting digitally? Who's releasing it? So you could release yourself on your own YouTube channel. Now your YouTube channel can attract the commercial money, the advertising money. How the distributors are being eliminated from the process is because the producers have becoming more proactive on the digital platform. Okay, yeah. I'll give you the example how Noel Pearson got for My Left Foot the first check. He went around the same thing. Jim Sheridan never directed the picture before, and that's all the factors kicks in there. You have to have a name director. Jim Sheridan was a theater director working in New York. He never had an experience of nobody will put money into him. So what Noel Pearson did? Noel Pearson went to Wheelchair Association of Ireland, and he got first 200,000 from Wheelchair Association. It's a movie about a crippled guy on a wheelchair, and 200,000 he returned it back, 400,000, and bought more wheelchairs from the profit of the film when it won the 11 Oscars. So the first money could be from any creative thinker.
Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the show and found the insights of each of these interviewees useful for your future projects. Bye for now.
Hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe and click on the bell for notifications.